Hi everyone, so here is our video tutorial on how to read and analyze a poem from general to specific. So we usually read poems a little bit more different than we read books and novels. We want to read them a little bit more closely because usually they're shorter and the author has only a certain amount of time to get his thoughts or her thoughts and feelings on paper. So really more than books and novels, every single word and piece of punctuation in poetry counts. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at the general poem. Okay, we want to take a step back and look at everything all at once. So we just want to read the poem really relaxed, and if you can, read it out loud. This is poetry how it should be read. It should really be recited out loud for an audience. So for our example today, I'm going to use Emily Dickinson's Hope is the Thing with Feathers. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to recite it to you and to myself out loud. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And the sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never, in extremity, it asked a crumb of me. Now what I would like you to do is pause this video and find a quiet place for you to sit and read this poem out loud to yourself slowly, taking in every word and every pause. The next thing we want to do after we've read the poem a few times is under the general, we want to, number one, try to establish the general idea or theme of the poem. Now remember, a theme is an author or a poet's message. So what is Emily Dickinson trying to convey in this poem? Usually the theme of the poem is found more closely toward the end. Okay, so yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. So what I think that means is that Hope has never asked anything of her. She in her life might have asked a lot of Hope, hoping for things in her life, but the Hope hasn't asked anything of her in return. Okay, I can also get a little bit of the sense of the theme from the very beginning. Hope is a thing that perches in the soul. Okay, so obviously she's relating hope to a bird that sings the beautiful song. But that can, I guess, as any bird can, fly away or go away. So it's something that's very delicate to her. So I think the general theme is that hope is something that can go away, and it's something that's beautiful, and it's something that doesn't ask anything of us in return. Okay, next is we want to know, does the poem tell a story? Does it paint a picture or a feeling? And what is its general point of view? So does it tell a story? I don't really think it tells a story. This isn't a narrative poem. It doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end as far as plot. So I'm going to say no to that one. Does it paint a picture or a feeling? Absolutely. We get an idea of what Hope is like to her. She paints a picture by using a lot of comparisons, which we'll talk about in a second. And it creates a feeling of positivity, but one that's fleeting, that could fly away at any moment. And what is this general point of view? It's absolutely first person point of view, and we can see this through her use of I and me. Next, we want to look at number 3, look for structural patterns, rhyme, and meter, if any. So for structural patterns, number of lines and stanza type. So number of lines, we have 4, 8, 12 lines broken up into 3 different stanzas, and each stanza is 4 lines long. Okay, so the next thing we want to look about is the rhyme and the meter. So with the rhyme, we primarily want to look at end rhymes. So we have feathers, soul, words, all. None of them really rhyme with each other, so it's going to be A, B, C, D rhyme scheme for stanza 1. Moving on to stanza 2. Heard, storm, bird, warm. Okay, now we have a bit of a rhyme scheme happening. Herd and bird rhyme, storm and warm. So we have an A, B rhyme scheme. Third stanza. Land, sea, extremity, me. Okay? Again, we have a different rhyme scheme in this stanza. Now we have land, which seems to stand alone, so it's going to be A. Then we have sea, extremity, and me, which all rhyme together, so they're going to be the B's. So it goes A, B, C, D, A, B, A, B, A, B, B, B. So we don't have a very consistent rhyme scheme here with Emily Dickinson. Moving on to meter or rhythm, we seem to have more of a consistency. We have something called iambic pentameter. Now, if you remember, an iamb is a foot, and it's a unstressed followed by a stressed syllable. And it goes bum bum. So iambic pentameter would be 5 of those. Bum bum, bum bum, bum bum, bum bum, bum bum. We have something very similar here, only we have about 3 feet per line. So that's why it's iambic trimeter. So I'm going to read some of it out to you with the rhythm a little bit exaggerated so that you can hear it. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Okay, so she has a nice little flow, nice little rhythm. You can almost hear, I almost started to sing, but thank God I didn't because that would be terrible. Okay, so now we're going to move on from the general to the specific. All right, so getting down to the nitty-gritty, this is more you're focusing on the literary devices that we learned. So individual poetic devices and techniques. You're going to look for imagery, which usually connects to the dominant theme of the poem. So we're looking for very vivid adjectives and descriptions, anything that kind of helps us paint a picture about what the poet is talking about. Okay, so she says hope is a thing with feathers. So we get this image of something very soft, something that's alive. Okay, sings the tune without the words. Okay, the sweetest. We get a storm, but then we get some touch imagery, right? We have chillest, warm. Okay, we can feel that. And we can almost hear the song that this bird or that hope is singing. It's a very sweet song. It's a very positive song. So we get auditory imagery as well. Look for meaning play, so figurative language, metaphor, simile, irony. Okay, we get a lot of figurative language here. The whole thing is a metaphor. We have hope being compared, using is, to a thing with feathers, some sort of bird. Okay, so we're comparing two seemingly unlike things, but putting them together in comparison, we get a whole new meaning. So again, as I said, hope becomes something that's alive, fragile, can leave you, is beautiful. Okay, without the words, there's a little bit of alliteration with your W's. Let's see, sweetest and sore. Okay, the strangest sea. Right, so we do have a little bit of alliteration here and metaphor. Look for wordplay. And that was the alliteration, any assonance, anything like that. It's a very short poem, so there's not too much poetic device being used, but as you can see, there is some, and I would say maybe the strongest part of this poem is the rhythm, the sing-song that it gives you, which is great because we are talking about hope being compared to a bird. So it only makes sense that Emily Dickinson made this poem sound like it should be sung because birds sing, right? So that is how to read a poem. You read the poem out loud, you try to figure out the theme, the structural patterns, the rhyme and the meter, imagery, any sort of figurative language, and any sort of poetic devices that you can find. And again, the best way to do this is to just annotate as much as possible. Really mark your papers up or your documents up to show that you are analyzing and breaking down and finding meaning in these poems.